Okay, so we're diving into 365 days with self-discipline, and wow, there's a lot to unpack here. A whole year's worth of tips and reflections on building better habits. But hey, that's what we do, right? We break it down, find those nuggets of wisdom that'll help us, well, level up.
Yeah. And what strikes me is how the book jumps right in, day one, bam. It's all about embracing the hard way if you really
Yeah.
want to achieve something, extraordinary.
Okay, the hard way, huh?
Hmm.
That sounds a little, I don't know, intense maybe. I mean, most people are looking for the easy route, aren't they?
Right. Nobody wants to make things harder on themselves, right?
Mm,
But it's not about like seeking out suffering. It's more about recognizing that lasting success, the stuff that really matters,
mhm.
often requires making choices that are tough in the moment but pay off big time down the road.
So it's like choosing long-term satisfaction over short-term comfort. Can you give me an example of what that might look like in, everyday life?
Totally. Think about it. Turning down that extra slice of pizza when you're trying to eat healthier, or dragging yourself to the gym early, even though, like, your bed is calling your name, or resisting that urge to just binge Netflix when you've got that deadline breathing down your neck. These are all those hard way choices that ultimately lead to a greater reward.
I see the connection to self-discipline here. It's about consistently making those choices that aren't always, the easiest or most fun in the moment.
Exactly, is building that mental muscle, that grit. And the book kicks off with this really vivid story about a caveman named Uzuk.
Oh, yeah, I remember him. He was facing all kinds of crazy challenges just to, like, survive, right? Hunting those woolly mammoths, battling the elements.
Exactly. And the point the author makes is that as humans, we're actually wired for challenge. It's kind of in our DNA. We've just gotten a little, I don't know, soft around the edges with all our modern comforts and constant distractions.
So we need to actively choose to tap into that inner strength, that ability to push through discomfort like Uzuk did.
Yeah, exactly. It's a choice, a conscious decision. And the book argues that self-discipline is the key. It's about developing that mental toughness so we can resist those quick fixes, those easy outs, and stay focused on what truly matters.
Okay, that makes sense. But it brings up a question. If self-discipline is all about the hard way, does that mean a life of self-control is just all struggle and like deprivation? Where's the joy in that?
That's where it gets interesting. 365 Days with Self-Discipline dives into this whole idea of two different kinds of happiness. There's that quick hit of feel-good happiness, which, is fleeting and often tied to stuff outside of us. And then there's a deeper, more lasting form of happiness that comes from meaning and purpose.
It's like the difference between, I don't know, that sugar rush you get from a donut versus the satisfaction you feel after like a really productive day of work.
Exactly. And that deeper happiness, the lasting kind, psychologists call it eudaimonic well-being. And what's so cool is that research shows that people who cultivate this eudaimonic well-being aren't just happier, they're also healthier and more resilient.
Wait, really? So choosing the hard way can actually boost your immune system. That's pretty amazing.
Right, it's like a bonus reward for, living a life of purpose. The book even cites studies that show people with higher levels of this eudaimonic well-being tend to have stronger immune responses.
Okay, that's fascinating. But how do we actually bridge the gap between those fleeting feel-good pleasures and this deeper, more purpose-driven happiness? How does self-discipline fit in?
Well, the book suggests that self-discipline is the bridge. It's about making choices that are aligned with your values and long-term goals, even when it means delaying gratification, saying no to things that tempt you in the moment.
So, like choosing the salad over the cheeseburger, waking up early for that workout, not spending hours scrolling through, social media.
Exactly. It's recognizing that those small, everyday choices, they add up. They
Yeah,
build a life that feels truly aligned and, well, fulfilling.
that makes sense. But let's be honest, temptations are everywhere. How does the book suggest we handle those moments when our brains are basically screaming for, like, instant gratification?
Well, that's where the book gets really practical. It's not just philosophy. It's about giving you tools to use. And one of the simplest, yet most effective, is the 10-minute rule.
The 10-minute rule. Okay, I'm curious. Tell me more.
It's super simple but powerful. Whenever you get hit with a craving, for anything really, whether it's for a sugary treat or that extra hour of sleep or even putting off a task you know you should be doing, you just wait 10 minutes before giving in.
Wait, that's it. Just 10 minutes.
Yep, and often that little pause is all you need. It breaks the hold of that craving. It gives you a chance to step back and make a more conscious decision.
Interesting. So it's like a mini workout for your willpower. You're training yourself to delay gratification.
Exactly. And the more you practice it, the stronger that muscle becomes. It's like anything else, consistency is key.
Yeah. This ties back to the idea of the hard way. It's about those small, tough choices that over time can lead to big changes.
Absolutely. And here's a question for you. What's one temptation you struggle with? How could you use the 10-minute rule to, navigate that in a more conscious way?
Ooh, good question. For me, it's hitting that snooze button in the morning. Those extra 10 minutes could be used to actually, center myself and start the day right.
I love that. And, it brings up another really intriguing point from the book. Self-discipline isn't just about restriction. It's about creating more freedom in your life.
Wait, really? How does that work?
Think about it. When you're ruled by your impulses, you're constantly reacting. You're not truly in control.
It's like you're at the mercy of your desires rather than being the one in charge.
Exactly. But when you cultivate self-discipline, you gain the power to make conscious choices. And that creates a sense of freedom. It's liberating.
So it's less about being a slave to your impulses and more about being the captain of your own ship.
Exactly. And that mastery can extend to every area of your life. Imagine freedom from financial stress because you're not making impulsive purchases, or the courage to leave a job that's, not fulfilling anymore, or the confidence to chase your passions.
And the book talks about how self-control in one area of your life can actually spill over into others, right?
Right? It's like a superpower. Like, let's say you're working on sticking to a budget. The research shows that the self-discipline you're building in your finances can actually make it easier to resist that extra dessert or get yourself to the gym.
Wow, that's incredible. It's like a domino effect of positive change, all stemming from building that self-discipline muscle.
Exactly. And this brings us to another crucial point: overcoming obstacles. Because the road to any worthwhile goal is rarely smooth sailing.
Oh yeah, I can definitely relate to that. Life loves to throw us curveballs.
And here's where 365 Days with Self-Discipline offers a really cool way to look at obstacles. It suggests they actually act as filters, weeding out those who aren't truly committed, which makes your success even sweeter when you do achieve it.
So instead of seeing challenges as roadblocks, we can view them as tests, like how badly do we really want something?
Exactly. And the book has this great quote. It says, "The brick walls are there to stop the people who don't want it badly enough."
That's a powerful image. It's like a reminder that obstacles are part of the journey. They show us how much we truly desire something.
And what's even more encouraging is that everyone faces obstacles, even those people we view as wildly successful. The book mentions Ferruccio Lamborghini, the founder of the iconic car
Oh,
company.
yeah. I remember that. He had a really down-to-earth quote about just being a regular guy who likes to work hard and, have fun. It's nice to see that even someone who achieved that level of success still faced challenges.
It highlights that success isn't about being superhuman. It's about having the grit and determination to keep pushing through, no matter how daunting things seem.
So how do we actually cultivate that grit? Does the book offer any practical strategies for building that resilience?
Absolutely. And one of the key strategies it emphasizes is the power of establishing daily routines. It's covered in depth on days 168 and 169.
Okay, daily routines. I've heard a lot about those, but I've always struggled to actually stick to them. Why are they so important for building self-discipline?
Well, think about it this way. Routines take the guesswork out of your day. They automate those healthy habits and productive behaviors you want to cultivate, so you're not constantly relying on, willpower alone.
So it's like putting your self-discipline on autopilot. You're setting up a system that just works.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And the book makes a point that routines are especially helpful when you're in a bad mood. Because if you've got a routine, you're less likely to skip your workout or put off a project just because you're feeling, I don't know, grumpy or uninspired.
Which is huge because let's be real, we all have those days where we're just not feeling it. But we don't want to let our goals slide.
Precisely. Routines provide consistency, even when our emotions are all over the place.
Okay, I'm starting to see the value in that. Can you give me an example of what a helpful daily routine might look like?
Sure. For me, my morning routine involves waking up early, having a glass of water, meditating for 10 minutes, and then writing for an hour before I check email or, social media.
I like that. It's a mix of healthy habits, focused work time, and it limits those distractions, which are so easy to get sucked into.
Exactly. And the book emphasizes that you don't have to change everything overnight. Start small, build from there.
It's like the saying, Rome wasn't built in a day.
Right. And that ties into another big theme from the book, the power of small actions, which we see on day 20.
The power of small actions. I like the sound of that. Tell me more.
It's the idea that you don't have to go from zero to hero all at once. You can start with tiny, manageable challenges. Like the philosopher Epictetus said, instead of trying to conquer the world, start by just, you know, controlling your complaining when you're sick.
Tiny steps, big impact. It's like building that self-discipline muscle one rep at a time.
Exactly. And the book emphasizes that, doing beats, just reading about it, it talks about deep practice, which is all about putting in the reps, actually applying what you're learning.
So it's not enough to just understand the concepts, we have to put them into action.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. But sometimes it feels like there's just so much information out there, so many tips and tricks, it can get overwhelming. Where do we even begin?
That's a great point. And it actually leads to another valuable insight from the book, the importance of finding what works for you. Building a system that supports your own needs and goals. There's no one-size-fits-all approach.
So it's about experimenting, finding what resonates with us, and like building a personalized toolkit for success.
Exactly. And that brings us to a little challenge for you. What's one small action you could take right now, like in this moment, that aligns with a bigger goal you're working toward?
Ooh, I like that. It could be as simple as making your bed, or meditating for 5 minutes, or even just writing down your top 3 priorities for the day. It's about taking that first step.
Absolutely. And remember, even small actions can have a ripple effect. They can spark positive change in all areas of your life.
This has been so insightful. I'm already feeling inspired to, level up my self-discipline game, and I can't wait to dive into more of 365 days with self-discipline and uncover even more strategies for building that unshakable self-control. But for now, we're going to take a quick pause. Stick with us. There's so much more to come.
So, before the break, we were talking about how there's no one-size-fits-all approach to self-discipline. It's about creating a system that works for you.
Yeah, and one of the things that really resonated with me from 365 days with self-discipline is this whole idea of deep practice. It's like putting in the reps, consistently showing up, even when it's not, glamorous.
It's that unsexy side of personal growth, right?
Yeah.
That consistent effort day after day, even when you don't see those immediate results. It can be tough, but that's, I think, where real transformation happens.
It reminds me of Day 208, where the author talks about profiting from your losses. I thought that was such a powerful way to reframe setbacks.
It's brilliant, isn't it? Because we all stumble, right? The key is to not let those stumbles define us, but to see them as opportunities to learn and grow.
It's like that saying, fall 7 times, stand up 8.
Exactly. And the book points out that, mentally resilient people are the ones who can do this. They don't let setbacks derail them.
And this ties into another concept that the book really dives into, that all or nothing mentality. Day 294 really hit home for me because I tend to struggle with this myself. It's like, if I mess up once, I feel like I've ruined everything and might as well just give up.
Oh, I think so many of us can relate to that. The book really encourages us to ditch that perfectionist thinking because it just sets us up for failure. Real change isn't about being perfect. It's about consistency.
It's about progress, not perfection, and giving yourself grace. It's okay to have a bad day or make a mistake, as long as we get back on track.
Exactly. And speaking of moving forward, one of the things the book emphasizes is the power of our thoughts. There's a quote from Marcus Aurelius that really stood out to me. He said, "Such as are thy habitual thoughts, such also will be the character of thy mind, for the soul is dyed by the thoughts."
Wow, that's pretty deep. It's like our thoughts are literally shaping who we are.
Exactly. If we're always focused on negativity and self-doubt, that's going to become our default mode. But if we make a conscious effort to cultivate positive, empowering thoughts, it can have a huge impact on our mindset and our actions.
It's like choosing to focus on the light instead of the darkness.
And this leads to another crucial aspect of self-discipline that the book highlights, which is energy management. Because willpower alone isn't enough. We need to have the energy and focus to actually make those hard choices.
This reminds me of Day 349, where the author talks about energy being the fundamental currency of high performance. And it's so true. When I'm feeling drained or, burnt out, it doesn't matter how disciplined I want to be, it's a struggle.
Exactly. That's why things like sleep, nutrition, exercise, stress management, they're so crucial. We got to take care of ourselves to have the energy to actually show up fully.
It's like trying to run a marathon on an empty tank. You need to fuel your body and mind.
And this ties into another important piece of the puzzle, knowing when to rest and recharge. Because pushing ourselves to the point of burnout is, well, it's counterproductive. There's that great Leonardo da Vinci quote, every now and then go away, have a little relaxation, for when you come back to your work, your judgment will be sure.
It's all about finding that balance, right? Pushing our limits, but also giving ourselves permission to rest and recover.
Absolutely. And speaking of, pushing limits and making progress, one of the foundations of self-discipline is having those clear goals and intentions. Without direction, even the most disciplined effort can feel kind of aimless.
It's like having a powerful engine but no steering wheel. You need a destination.
Exactly. And the book emphasizes the importance of not just having those goals in your head, but actually writing them down.
It's like making a contract with yourself.
Right. And the book even suggests getting really specific. Don't just say, I want to lose weight. Define how much weight and by when.
It's like creating a roadmap to success.
And that leads to another crucial point, turning those intentions into action. It's not enough to just dream big. We have to actually, take steps to make those dreams happen.
Day 176 talks about this, right? The importance of jotting things down. Not relying on memory, but actually tracking our progress.
It's about taking ownership and creating a system that supports our success. And this brings us to another valuable piece, the power of learning from others. We don't have to reinvent the wheel.
The book is full of wisdom from philosophers, athletes, entrepreneurs, people who've really mastered self-control.
Exactly. And it encourages us to not just passively read about their experiences, but actually apply their insights to our own lives, like, trying out a new productivity technique or incorporating a new habit.
It's about being open to learning, constantly trying to level up.
And speaking of leveling up, one of the most important skills we can develop is self-awareness. Understanding our own strengths and weaknesses and triggers so we can, set ourselves up for success.
Day 254 really gets into this, talking about the power of self-image and how it influences our behavior. It's like if we see ourselves as lazy or undisciplined, we're more likely to act that way.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. But if we choose to see ourselves as capable and worthy, it can completely change our actions.
It's about building that positive self-belief.
Exactly. And part of self-awareness is recognizing those emotional triggers too. Day 341 talks about how important it is to avoid making big decisions when we're in a really emotional state, whether it's, positive or negative.
That makes sense, because when our emotions are running high, it's easy to make those impulsive decisions that we might regret later.
It's about learning to pause, take a step back, and make sure we're not letting our emotions completely take over.
Responding instead of reacting.
Exactly. And that brings us to another piece of wisdom from the book, knowing when to cut your losses.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Well, Day 293 talks about how sometimes the most disciplined thing you can do is walk away from something that's not serving you anymore, whether it's a project or a relationship or even, a goal.
It's about recognizing when something's not working and freeing up our energy to focus on what truly matters.
Exactly. And it often requires trusting our intuition. If something feels off or we're having to force ourselves, maybe it's a sign to reevaluate.
It's about having the courage to change course.
And this ties into another powerful concept from the book, having a higher purpose. When we're connected to something bigger than ourselves, it gives us the strength to push through those tough times.
So it's not just about, personal success. It's about making a positive contribution, to the world.
Exactly. The book talks about how finding our purpose doesn't have to be this grand mystical thing. It could be about aligning our actions with our values and making a difference in the lives of others.
It's about living a life that feels meaningful.
And on that note, I think we've covered some amazing ground. We've talked about deep practice, profiting from our losses, managing our energy, setting clear goals, taking action, learning from others, cultivating self-awareness, knowing when to cut our losses, and living with a higher purpose.
It's a lot to take in, but I'm starting to see how all these pieces fit together. They create this framework for building that unshakable self-control and living a more intentional life.
And there's still more to explore. We're going to take a quick break and come back with some final thoughts and a thought-provoking idea from the book to leave you pondering. Stay tuned.
Okay, so we're back and ready to wrap up our deep dive into 365 days with self-discipline. Man, we've covered so much ground already. I mean, from the hard way to those small actions, it's been a whirlwind.
Yeah, this book is packed with so much practical wisdom. It's like a guidebook for anyone who wants to like really take control of their life, build that self-discipline, and create something they're truly proud of.
Absolutely. And before we finish, there are a couple more things I want to touch on. One that really caught my attention was the concept of simple rules, which the book talks about on day 186. It got me thinking about how I make decisions.
Oh yeah, simple rules are so powerful. They help you cut through all the noise and like eliminate all those unnecessary choices, you know? It's like setting up
Mhm.
these guardrails for your behavior so you're not constantly having to rely on willpower.
It's like instead of stressing about what to eat for breakfast every morning, you decide, okay, I'm having oatmeal with berries every day. Decision made, mental energy saved.
Exactly. And the book gives all sorts of great examples. Maybe your simple rule is to always say no to dessert or to block out like an hour every day for focused work no matter what.
I love that. Sometimes less is more. By limiting our options in certain areas, we actually free up mental space for the things that really matter.
It seems counterintuitive, but when you think about how much energy we waste on, little decisions all day long, it makes sense.
Totally. And, this brings up another point that stuck with me, this idea of not judging too quickly, which the book explores on day 187. It's so easy to judge other people's choices, right? But we rarely have the whole story.
It's a great reminder to be humble and try to be more open-minded. We never really know what someone else is going through.
It's a call for compassion, for ourselves and for others. We're all just doing the best we can.
Absolutely. And that ties into another big idea that runs through the book. This idea of shifting our focus from the outcome to the process, which day 342 really dives into.
It's like recognizing that real success isn't just about reaching a destination, but about the journey itself,
Yeah,
becoming a better version of yourself along the way.
it's finding that satisfaction in the effort, in the discipline, the growth, the learning.
Hmm.
It's not all about the end result.
So it's more about savoring each step you take.
Exactly. And this leads to one final thought-provoking idea from 365 Days with Self-Discipline. It's this practice of self-refusal discussed on day 321.
Okay, self-refusal. Now that one definitely piqued my interest. What's that all about?
So it's this idea of like periodically denying yourself things that you think you need, even if you can easily afford them. It's about challenging those assumptions about what's really essential and building resilience, gratitude.
So it's like a voluntary discomfort challenge,
Yeah.
intentionally creating a little friction to like build mental toughness.
Yeah, exactly. And the book suggests it can be a way to reveal your true priorities and, help you appreciate the abundance in your life even more.
I love that. It's a good reminder that sometimes less really is more, and that true contentment comes from within, not from all the stuff we accumulate.
And ultimately, 365 days with self-discipline reminds us that our time is limited. Day 336 really emphasizes this. It's a call to make the most of each day, to live with purpose.
To recognize that life is a gift and that we get to choose how we spend our time and energy.
It's about aligning our actions with our values, going after those passions, and making a positive impact on the world around us.
And maybe most importantly, it's about, enjoying the ride, embracing those challenges, and striving to become the best version of ourselves.
So there you have it. We've reached the end of our deep dive into 365 days with self-discipline. Hopefully you've picked up some valuable insights, some strategies to help you build that unshakable self-control and create a life that you truly love.
It's been an awesome journey, and I encourage you to keep exploring, keep learning.
Remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about progress. It's a journey,
Right.
and it happens, one step at a time.
So keep learning, keep practicing, keep growing, and keep striving to be the best version of yourself.
And until next time, happy deep diving.